Do you ever think back to what it felt like to be a kid? To pick up wrapping paper and suddenly it was a sword? To build entire worlds and stories out of Lego pieces? To draw something and never consider if it was good? To spend hours outside making games up with your siblings or friends because there was nothing else to do? We were all creative. It wasn't something we had to learn, it was just who we were. So what happened? As we get older, life just happens. We have to grow up, get jobs, pay bills, become responsible. None of those things are inherently bad, they're just a part of modern life. But somewhere along the way, most of us start to believe that growing up actually means leaving parts of us behind. We trade curiosity for consistency. We trade play for processes, and we trade imagination for optimization. And before we knew it, being creative becomes something we do if there was any time left, if at all. We live in the digital age. Everything is vying for our attention. Apps, notifications, algorithms, ads, AI, shorts, reels, etc. And here's my beef. The two things our creativity need the most are exactly the two things that we're constantly giving away: our attention and our time. Every year, we drift a little further away from those creative individuals we were as kids. And I believe it's not by choice. It's because life slowly pulls us in a different direction. So, if you've been feeling stuck or you've been wondering where that creative spark went, let's unpack it together, because you haven't lost your creativity. It's still there. So let's dive in together. If you haven't seen any of my videos before, my name is Bronson, and this channel is all about helping you bring creativity back into your life. Because let's be honest, our creativity as humans has never been more at risk. So if this message resonates with you, I'd love for you to stick around while we build a community of creatives that want to leave their creative mark on those around them. To play. If you've spent any time around children, you know that all they seek is to play. They will turn anything into a game. Sometimes I do something in passing with my son, and the next thing I know, I've repeated it for the 100th time. It can be the most mundane of things, like pretending to help him jump really high, or in my son's case, challenging me to a sword fight with wrapping paper. Just the other day, we were getting breakfast after Little Kickers, and after we finished eating, my son looks me straight in the eyes and says, "Will you chase me?" Now, I don't recommend you walk up to someone and ask them to chase you, even though it would be hilarious. But the point I'm trying to make is that adults often feel guilty for playing, especially as parents. We feel that everything needs to be productive, efficient, have a strict purpose, or make us money. Being productive or having purpose or making money isn't inherently bad. There are people out there that find fun in those things. But for the large majority of us, we will make any excuse to avoid tapping into that playful inner child that I know is still there. To consume. We have become a consumer society. But it hasn't always been like this, and we haven't always been like this either. I remember finishing school and riding our bikes and exploring the bush and going to the beaches. I remember living in fantasy worlds with my brothers and my friends. We used to talk to each other when we caught public transport. We read books, draw, write, knit. And today, we wake up and we check our phone. We check them when we're on our way to work. We check them while we're eating. We check them while we're watching TV. We've become incredibly good at consuming. Now, I don't want you to feel bad because, I'm guilty of this too. But my point is, we spend our time experiencing other people's creativity instead of expressing our own. Now, I'm not asking you to drop everything and become a content creator, because it's not for everyone. But you can assess what used to bring you joy when you were younger and see if you can't bring back a little bit of that into your life. To be bad. This weird thing happens when you're an adult. We stop being okay with being bad. There is this silent expectation that we will excel immediately. And then when we don't, we stop. When we were younger, there was this internal understanding that things take time, and we're okay with that. But as adults, if I'm not immediately good at something, then it's a waste of time. And I'm not exempt from this either. I've played sport my whole life. So when I tried golf to try and bond with my brothers, and I sucked, I immediately never wanted to play again. And I think this can be tied down to a lot of things, but in my experience, it comes down to comparison. In my case, it was easier to say I'm a worse golfer if I've never tried than to admit to my younger brothers that they're better than me. We do need to be reasonable here though. You can't just walk into a high-paying job. Do you just get handed a university degree without studying? Are your YouTube videos super high quality art on day one? No. Everything takes time. Everything requires patience and dedication. The reason my art is good is because I've been drawing since I was 10 years old. The reason I can speak comfortably on camera without getting nervous is because I've released a video a week for the past year or thereabouts. Feeling bad about it means you care. Just don't compare your first year to someone else's 10th. To be attentive. So this is an interesting one. When was the last time you let yourself be bored? The way that technology has been shaped is that whenever we feel the slightest bit of boredom, we must distract ourselves. We wake up, we look at our phones. On public transport, we look at our phones. Standing at the urinal, we'll look at our phones. I think you get the point. Creativity requires the mind to wander. It requires space to explore, the freedom to unwind what your life is and how you can create within it. I know I keep drawing parallels between adults and children, but have you seen kids play imaginary games? They create whole worlds, stories that only they can see. I urge you, friends, sit with the silence just a little bit, and where does your mind take you? I've spoken about this before, but companies will monopolize your attention. Only you can break free from it. Only you can be attentive enough to the world around you and create instead of consume. Be the only one on your train carriage that reads a book or writes in a journal instead of scrolling through things that other people have created. To remember. Have you ever met someone for the first time and the conversation's gone something like this? Hi, my name is X, nice to meet you. The other person's like, hi, nice to meet you too. So what do you do for work? What do you do for work? Like it's who we are. I'm in finance. I'm a senior executive of customer retention strategy and planning and development. I'm product management and flow specialist. At the risk of being a little bit divisive, they are jobs. Granted, you may have worked hard to get them, but let me ask you, who are you really? Are you a writer? Are you an artist? Are you a musician, a builder, a storyteller, a chef, a game dev, a gardener, a collector, someone who brings people together, someone who builds communities? I'm that annoying person that when I meet someone for the first time, I ask them, what do you enjoy doing for fun outside of work? I think this can be a little bit tricky because it takes a lot of time studying and working to build up a career. The hope. As adults, when someone asks us if we're creative, often you'll hear people say, I'm not creative, or I don't have a creative bone in my body. And honestly, I just don't believe that's true. To borrow a line from my good buddy, Carl Drifter, we are all uniquely creative. And I love that. Because creativity isn't something that's just for artists or musicians or filmmakers. It's part of what makes us human. It makes you who you are. It's who you've always been, whether you believe it or not. I've grown up alongside some people who were incredibly creative. People who could draw, build, write, make music, tell stories. But it was never encouraged, and it was never nurtured. So it slowly disappeared beneath work, responsibilities, and the idea that it doesn't have any value. But here's the thing, it never really disappears. And over the years, I've watched people uncover that part of themselves again. Sometimes through encouragement, sometimes through community, sometimes through self-improvement, and maybe sometimes through a random Australian bloke on YouTube. It can find you in many different ways, but the feeling is the same. It's reconnecting with that inner child that we've forgotten about. So if you've been waiting for the right moment to be creative again, please just start. Because I genuinely believe that creating something regularly changes us. Not because it'll make us famous or not because it'll make us a bunch of money, but because it reminds us who we are. If you made it to the end, you are truly appreciated. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you could give the video a like, and if you want to be part of a growing community of creative people, please drop a sub. I'd love it if you let me know in the comments what you're creating this week. Until next time, create every day.